This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it's 5:01 p.m. on May 1st, 2023. This is the Public Works Committee of the Stratford Town Council. This is Bill O'Brien, 9th District Councilman, subbing for Ken Poisson, who could not be here tonight. Can I get approval of the minutes for the April 3rd, 2023 meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. And let's see, Renee is up to bat. Got the report as usual. Any questions for Renee? Or anything special you have to add, Renee, before we start?
No, I've got nothing special.
Okay. Everything held up okay with all the heavy rain over the weekend?
We had a few issues,
Yeah.
but nothing out of the ordinary.
What are some of the, hi Renee, it's Laura. Some of the issues that you have in your capital plan, or some of the main topics in your capital plan?
We haven't fully developed the capital plan yet. We're in the process of doing that. But it's, typical paving, sidewalks, trees. We're gonna be proposing probably some work at one of the schools. I think maybe windows at Johnson. Some more work at Baldwin Center because we're still working on that. Some more work at the Ferry Creek Pump Station, but a bunch of stuff, but nothing that's, a surprise.
I thought Arbor Day went well, so thank you for everything. That was a great planting area over by the Greenway.
Great.
You have anything, Jean Marie?
No, I mean, I read through it. Everything looks good. Anything I want to bring up is for open discussion. So it all looks good. I think you guys are doing an amazing job as usual. Thank you for handling those lacrosse fields.
Thank you.
Oh, and before, I've been forgetting to thank you, Renee, and the staff for putting up the Purple Heart signs at the various locations around town. And we're getting some nice comments about those. I realize now they should have been bigger probably, but that's all right. They still look good. And then two things, Morgan Francis Recreational Complex is really exciting. People are excited about that. That's on our Parks and Rec agenda for a presentation on Thursday night.
Yes.
And the DeLuca scoreboard, I know I've been talking with the mayor about it. And did she tell you that they have decided they'll just use the former location? Because there was talk before about moving it to the outfield, but they're going to stick with that location. So
good decision.
So hopefully we can make that happen. I guess we got to get somebody.
You guys should order the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Move forward and order it, because I have no idea how long it's going to take for it to come in.
And they're paying for it, so that's a good thing.
That's even the best. So
yeah,
go right forward and order it.
And they also said if need be, if we have to pay somebody, a company to install, they'll pay for that if it need be.
Okay.
That's good stuff.
That is great stuff.
What's that? Can you just tell me about the Bunnell discus area change? What's that all about?
The way it's set up, and if there's a lefty thrower, there's the way the discus comes out of its hand, it kind of goes towards the side where it's not quite as safe. So it's just adding like one more section of additional fencing to catch an errant left-handed thrower.
Yeah, I was pretending to be Ken Poisson because as a track coach, he probably would have been talking about that issue. So
we resolved it. We met with him, and the extra section of fencing is going to be installed before their tournament that they're having. So he's
okay. Thanks.
All set.
Laura, Jean Marie, have anything else?
I just real quick. I see that the vestibule projects are on the list for Wilcoxon and I forget the other school, Worcester maybe. Franklin. Are those the last two schools without a vestibule? Those are are they the last two?
Yes, and the reason being is there's major construction that is necessary to create vestibules at those two locations. They were the only schools that it wasn't an easy, within its own footprint way to do it. So right now, we filled out all the paperwork. It is with the state. We're looking to get grant funding through the state to pay for it. And we're still waiting to hear.
Okay, so right now they just lock the door and then a parent or whatever they just need to buzz in.
Yeah, they have other, I mean, they have other levels of threshold.
Well, actually, Laura, from what I understand, back when they have an extra personnel staff, at least at Wilcox in all those years, because we didn't have a double vestibule, we had to have a security guard at the front door for when people enter or ring the bell. So they do have, I believe those are the only two schools that don't have that.
Okay.
And that means that we'd save the money on that particular staffer, from what I understand.
And then my last question, to kind of go back in time, with the Paradise Green area, I know that there was some talk of maybe a year or so ago about getting a grant to potentially upgrade that whole area, and then the clock tower was going to be part of that. So can you tell me, I'm assuming we didn't get the money to do that project, and are we just holding on to the clock, or is it going to be installed anywhere anytime soon?
It's not, we're holding on to it. It's not going to be installed. There's a complete Metro cog bike lane project that's going to go from like the Barnum to through Paradise Green. So we're just holding tight until they settle on that. They are in the design phase stage right now. John probably knows way more about it than I do. But right now there's a lot of variables to making that work. So we're not putting the clock in anywhere yet until they've settled and finalized their plans.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
We're trying to sneak in there with our own ideas to hopefully incorporate some things, but I'm not sure we're going to be successful.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Renee. I guess we can go to John Casey for the report of the town. John, did you send anything out? I didn't get any report. Was there any action items?
No action items. We did send out the memo, so it should be in your latest email from Aileen as the reminder this morning. I think it went out again. But there are no action items, so I could just quickly run through, a couple key points.
Okay.
The Honey Spot Road and Stratford Avenue roundabout project, the hold up there at this point, or there's two items. One is the utility drawings. There are utility relocations that'll be required for all of the changes that we're proposing. The DOT wants to see the drawings from the utilities that will show where their relocations will go as part of our plan set. So we're waiting for the utility companies now to provide us with their relocation plans, and they get attached to our plan set. And then they also have to do a cost estimate for the value of their work to do their work, because some of it may be reimbursable by the grant. So when that's all completed by the utility companies, we get that. Our plan set will be complete and ready to submit to the DOT for approval. However, we're still working on the right-of-way acquisitions needed for the project. So that is in the last stretch. I think we've been reaching out to one of the owners that we've been working with, and I think we're close to addressing those concerns. And then another owner hasn't been responsive to our calls. So the town attorney is considering that we may just have to give that to the state to have them complete the right-of-way phase if the town can't make any headway on its own. So those are the two obstacles that we're working on now to try to get the project out to bid. And then I would just let you know that we have been getting delays in the product that we need to install the underground storage at the Bunnell High School and the Perry House. And the Perry House, we could be doing that project now, but they haven't shipped the product. So we've been on the phone with the vendor. They, like many other places around, aren't having the productivity that they want, and they have other projects. So they're now telling us that we'll be getting our product in mid-May, which isn't a problem as long as we actually get it. But the contractor is getting anxious because especially the Bunnell project, he has to get his underground storage in before the town is ready to pave the parking lot at Bunnell. So as of today, there's no issue, but the contractor's starting to get a little nervous that the vendor hasn't been able to supply the product.
And of course, for Bunnell, I'm sure they want to get that done during the summer.
Yeah, our goal is to, as soon as the kids are out of school, to be under construction with our project, and then the town will come in later. Public Works will come in and do the parking lot paving before the end of the summer. That's the plan. And that Perry House, we're putting some of the stormwater storage facilities in the backyard. And we could be, again, starting that as soon as we get the product. So it's all fenced, ready to go. We just need confirmation that the product's on a truck, and then we'll start that project. Also, we are working on the drainage at Seymour and Jackson. And that, the engineer has completed their analysis of the quantity of rainwater that's generated and preliminary pipe sizes that would be needed to accommodate the flow for a 10-year design storm. The 10-year design storm is what we typically would be requiring for our roadways. The old 10-year design storm is what we would have designed for, but now we're designing for the new 10-year design storm, which is more rainfall. And it turns out that the pipes for the new design criteria are much smaller than they need to be. So we're in a bit of a quandary with the pipe sizing because all this water flows down to the railroad underpass, and the railroad underpass doesn't have capacity to handle any, too much more water than what we're giving it. So what we've instructed the engineer to do is to make the pipe sizes on Seymour as big as they can be, while still having the railroad underpass be able to accept the water and process the water downstream at a low tide event. So the best case scenario is at low tide, when the design changes we made at the railroad underpass can take the water, we'll bring as much water as we can, and then that'll be the limitation on the pipe size. So we're not sizing the pipes for a 10-year design storm. We're designing it for the limitation that exists at the railroad bridge. So I hope that's clear on that decision. Right now we have about an 18-inch storm drain on Seymour, and the engineer is calculating 36 to 42-inch pipe would be needed. But downstream, we only have a 36-inch pipe. So, it just doesn't make sense to spend the money on bigger pipes when downstream can't accept the flow anyway. So that's where we're at on that project.
John, I don't remember from the other night at the DOT meeting what they said about Bruce Avenue with the DOT project. Do you remember what their plans are there?
Yeah, the Bruce Ave project, they had considered trying to lower the road to get more clearance. And if they were to do that, they would require a pump station for pumping the drainage out. They've done their analysis on the drainage, and they feel that the pumps, well, because of a number of reasons, that they're not going to be lowering the roadway to create the additional clearance. The main reason that they're not is because we have two sanitary sewer trunk lines and the 2 stormwater drainage lines, plus water and gas utilities that would all be in the way of a road lowering project. And we can't really lower our sewer because it's gravity. So that's kind of the controlling element, is our sanitary sewer elevation. So they can't lower the road lower than the sewer is, so they can't really lower the road without doing some, extraordinary, engineering designs or relocations of sanitary sewer systems, or, something more than they're willing to do. So they're leaving the roadway at the current elevation. They said there's not much they could do with the drainage, but if you were at the meeting, at the public meeting, I asked them to provide the drainage analysis, which they haven't shown to us yet, to see if we have any comments on their analysis. But we were hoping that they would be able to open up the culvert at Bruce Brook, which is right next to the Bruce Avenue Railroad underpass, so that we could get more Bruce Brook flow through there. And also, at one point they were considering a stormwater pump station to be able to pump the drainage. So at this point, they're not proposing that pump station anymore, because they're not lowering for one.
Because they're not lowering the road, is that why it wouldn't be conducive to a pump station, even though they're doing one on East Main Street? So the difference there is they're lowering the street.
Yes.
On East Main.
Yes. And the other issue on East Main, they can pump over to our other pump station. But at Bruce Ave, there's no place for them to pump to. They could pump to the brook, but the brook south of Stratford Avenue doesn't have that much capacity either, because of the tidal effects because that's very flat, it's tidally impacted, and it's currently too narrow and too small to accept all the flow from the Bruce Brook, even at low tide. So
it's too bad that a pump station wouldn't work there.
Yeah, and not to mention there's no place to put a pump station.
That's the other, yeah.
So there's a lot of site constraints there, and they've decided to make the best of what they can make out of the current situation without making extravagant improvements. Tremendous
project. I'm looking forward. Unfortunately, it's going to take a long time, but the biggest hassle, I think, is going to be the detours.
Yeah, they'll definitely, that project, when they're running on an expedited design and an expedited construction. So they are going to try to make it move as quickly as possible, but there definitely will be impacts when they're working at the bridge at each underpass. But the net product, when they're done, we're going to have wider bridges, bridges that'll have more clearance, some more than others, but every bridge will get some more clearance than they currently have, and there'll be a wider road and brand new bridge. They'll look good, relatively speaking. So
basically, the pipe the size of the pipe that you're talking about on Seymour and Jackson would help alleviate some of that flooding concern if they got a larger pipe.
It would contribute more water to that location.
It would contribute more water to the location.
So it's more, so from a priority point of view, Bruce Avenue is the more critical pathway. So we'd rather, if we're going to have some ponding on the road, we'd rather have it on Seymour and basically on Seymour, rather than on Bruce Avenue. But we're going to get ponding on both regardless. But we're trying to balance out and equalize the best we can get out of it.
Okay. Well, it seemed like we had a lot of energetic engineers that night, so hopefully somebody can come up with a solution. Just seems a shame to go through the trouble of, or the expense even of the bridges and still have the same flooding issue. But
yeah, I agree. So when they submit their hydraulic analysis, we'll be able to comment on that.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. That's good.
Thanks, John.
And we are going to, by the way, try to put some underground storage on the drainage on Seymour as well, to try to store some water up on the roadway itself or under the roadway itself, as a mitigation measure as well. So we'll be getting that. We'll be getting bigger pipes, but there's a lot of obstacles in our way. So that's where we're at on that. On the Bruce Brook improvements, the phase 1 at the end of Bow Avenue, we're still waiting for the state grant. Comes up from time to time. When are we starting? Well, we can't start until we get the grant in hand. So we got awarded that in November, I think, but we haven't received it yet. So the state's still working on getting us the paperwork. And then the South End rainfall study. They have been making some progress on that. They'll have their model set up later in the month, and then in June they're gonna review that with me, and then following that we'll be presenting that to you. So in July or August we'll be getting to you with some of the findings that they're coming up with and some of the recommendations, and then we'll have a public meeting.
Okay.
Well, after the weekend we just had, this is timely, talking about flooding and rainfall.
All of a sudden it moves a couple notches. So those are the key items.
I have a question. Can you help us understand what that means on item number 11 as to far as the culvert crossing the driveway in East Main? Is that going to be a traffic situation over there? Like with how's that going to work? Is that going to be bothering the underpass there, or the overpass, or whatever you want to call it?
So at the end of Avery Street is where the entrance to Ashcroft the workers come into the parking lot.
Avery Street. So past like by Marges, the old Marges?
Yes, right, that on that corner.
All right, so that's not going to impact East Main directly then. It'll be off that side road.
Well, the driveway is down there, so the work they're still going to have traffic proceeding, but they'll have a scheme to be able to get traffic in and out while they're constructing down there at the driveway. And then they also have to cross East Main Street. So they're coming from the easement where the mosque is now, across Main Street, and they're tying into the culvert that they've already installed on the Public Works yard property.
Okay.
So there will be a 6-week construction period where they're crossing East Main Street.
And that's the same general area that they were just doing all that sewer work on, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll be kind of more of the same?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that it, John? Unless anybody have any questions? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how you keep track of all this stuff.
I have to write it down.
All right, so next regular meeting will be Tuesday, June 6th at 5 p.m. It's Tuesday because I think the mayor's golf tournament's on Monday.
Did we skip the open discussion? Because I wanted to ask Renee about something. Sorry, Bill. I was waiting till the end.
Renee's still there?
No. Darn it. How did we miss that? I was trying to
No,
get.
I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm going anywhere.
Thank you. I know that this is probably a sore subject, but I would like to start researching ripping the flower beds out of Wilcoxon, because I don't even need to take pictures of it. It's a mess and it's a security hazard. And I know that we've had this conflict with Wilcoxon for the past 10 years. I'm now at this point now I can convince the PTA that we've got to downsize them significantly. I don't exactly know what goes into getting that onto some form of agenda, but I mean, it's growing in now. I don't know what time of year is best to do something like this, but it's going to be an ongoing problem, again.
Yeah, it has been an ongoing problem, and we're not going to stop anybody who wants to rip it out, or anybody wants to vote to rip it out. We never asked for it. We just take the black eye because it doesn't look maintained, and it's part of that, whatever club decided they wanted to do that. And they do go in there and do some maintenance. So we don't rip anything out because they do. Do they do year-round maintenance? No.
So the maintenance on those flower beds has been me for 10 years. And I've been arguing with the PTA for 10 years. We inherited this problem from a PTA of 20 something years ago. And originally when I came to you guys 10 years ago, the PTA was hesitant to turn it into grass. And that's what the town proposed that we do. But now it's become such an issue that I know over the last 2 years, or maybe 3 or so, we were flagged for it being a security issue because people can hide in that brush. So I'm trying to propose that we rip it all out. I just don't know what goes into, I mean, obviously that's not something that I can get the PTA to agree to do. How do you suggest we move forward? I realize it's one of those capital improvement projects that they did themselves, but at this point, I don't know how, we can't go back to the people 25 years ago and say, you're an idiot, you got to come over here and fix this.
No, we're fine. We could rip it out and plant grass, but it's not, it's going to take time. It's a big job. And now it's, trying to commingle that with painting lacrosse fields and soccer fields. And it's like, we'll do it, but I don't know that it will be done in as timely a manner as we would like it to be, but we would do it and put grass.
I would say that, and obviously we're at the end of the school year here. For blight purposes, I hate that it would stay there throughout the summer, but I would just say that if we tried to get it done before fall would be kind of reasonable, considering that, then that way it's done before school goes back. I don't know if the only reason I mention it now is because it is new growth right now. So it grows very quickly, but we might need to time that for a certain time of year. I'm not quite sure, but at this point, I'm just going to go back to the PTA and the school and say, you have no choice. I'm not arguing with you anymore. It's all coming out because no one is maintaining it. So I'll handle that end of it. It's just more about you, Renee, deciding when you think we could tackle this project so that I can advocate for it.
It's just a matter of every week the schedule is jam-packed, and now we're dealing with a lot of grass growing because of the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're preparing ourselves for a lot of complaints of people saying we're not mowing fast enough, but you're not mowing at your house every 5 days either. So we're trying to do the best we can. There's, 600 acres to mow. And, that's in between the million other things. So I will talk to Chad and see if, we could get this on the schedule. I just don't know what his workload is, when he can handle it, because that's a big job. Mm-hmm. It may even be easier to bring in equipment and rip it out, which means you can't do it during the day when kids are in school. So I've got to talk to Chad and put a plan together, and I can get back to you and let you know what that looks like.
Yeah, again,
all right, thanks. We need to wrap up because we've got to get building needs going.
Okay.
So under new business, Laura, you'll give our listener a call?
Yes, I'm happy. I have an email ready to send out to Kathy. So Kathy can keep an eye out for the email, and then we can talk.
Okay, thanks. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Passes. Meeting is adjourned at 5:20. What is it? 5:29 p.m.
5:30.
It is 5:30. Hey, my iPad says 5:29. My phone says 5:30.